Almost 110 Chinese tourists a day visited Ireland last year, and the number is estimated to grow by a fifth by 2017. There are 120 million Chinese travelling abroad this year, with an overall spend of about 100,000 million US dollars. But despite this, we don't have any direct flights from China to Ireland. And can I ask you, Minister, is it now not about time that the government would put strategies in place to try and attract an airline into this country and provide direct flights?
The strategies are in place. The government and its agencies are working very hard to look at the establishment of direct air services to China to further underpin the growing tourism and trade relations between both countries. The House will recall that the Chinese Premier visited Ireland along with a number of other Chinese ministers in May. In his meeting with Premier Li, the Taoiseach welcomed efforts to improve connectivity between Ireland and China and indicated his desire to see direct flights. The legal framework for the operation of international air services are laid down in bilateral air transport agreements. Both countries signed such an agreement in 1998 to facilitate the establishment of direct air services. However, the setting up of such a service is ultimately a matter for commercial companies, and it's a commercial decision that they need to make. There are ongoing contacts between my own department and the Civil Aviation Administration of China. The Irish airports and Tourism Ireland also have attractive incentive and marketing programmes available to help support new services. Last week, Tourism Ireland led a 5-day sales mission to China. A delegation of 14 tourism enterprises from the island of Ireland took part in the targeted travel trade mission in a bid to increase our share of this rapidly growing tourism market. Initiatives such as this help to raise Ireland's profile with the Chinese travel trade and population more generally, and I hope that airlines will see that potential demand for new services are increasing as a result and will be encouraged to establish new direct services.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Dennis Naughton.
Minister, over 300,000 Chinese tourists visited New Zealand last year. Population pretty much the same size. It's actually further away from China than Ireland is. But they have direct flights. Now, Minister, in light of the strong ties there are between Shannon Airport and senior political figures in China, should we not now try and build upon that, bring high-spending Chinese tourists into Ireland? On average in New Zealand they spend about €2,600 per tourist. And can I ask you, Minister, specifically, what measures are taking place in relation to making available funds and a marketing budget to attract an airline to bring direct flights in, and I believe direct flights into Shannon that could actually access the western seaboard, where there is a huge potential for development of tourism in that sector, and the Midlands as well?
Thank you. Minister.
All this work is actively underway already. We are enjoying a growing tourism relationship with China. This is one of the reasons that we brought in a new visa programme along with the UK, so that if a potential visitor from China is looking to visit Ireland, they can use the same visa to go to the UK and vice versa. And Visit GB and Tourism Ireland are working together now in order to target long-haul visitors to come to both countries on the same visa. This is the very reason, Deputy, why we had a 5-day mission last week, led by Tourism Ireland, to look at how we can generate the demand to sustain direct flights between both countries. And this is the reason why Tourism Ireland has presences in 4 different Chinese cities, including Shanghai and Beijing. And we are doing all of this work to get the demand in place to sustain a direct service between Ireland and China.
Thank you.
What I'm not in a position to do, as you'll appreciate, is direct a company that the state doesn't own to provide a flight between both countries. But what we're working very hard to do is to create the environment in place in which such a service would be launched.
Thank you. Deputy Dennis Naughton.
Minister, first of all, in relation to the visa, the problem is it's a single entry visa. So someone coming to the UK, visiting Ireland, cannot go back and visit the UK before they return home. So that anomaly needs to be addressed, because it is causing a barrier in relation to it. Minister, because of your very close relationship now with IAG, surely you could pick up the phone to Willie and have a chat with him about putting the possibility of flights in place. Because as you know, because of the exclusivity in relation to Irish-US access regarding the visa pre-clearance, that may not continue into the future. This is going to undermine the role of Shannon. There is huge potential there in relation to the political capital that has now been built up, to actually use that as an anchor to bring direct flights into Shannon, into the Midwest region, into the Western and Midlands region. And can I ask you, Minister, if you would put a working group in place of the Chinese community here, the tourism agencies, your own department, and the public representatives from the wider catchment, both government and opposition, together, and see how we can actually develop and market this as a whole.
Thank you, Minister.
Deputy, all of the work that you're calling for is happening. It's all happening. This is why a mission took place to China last week. This is why we have had such contact at a senior level between Chinese political figures and government leaders and Irish politicians and government ministers to put in place an arrangement, an environment in which certain services can be launched. At the end of the day, for a service to be either launched or to be maintained, the demand, as you will well know, has to be there for it to happen. The demand has to be there from either tourists or investors to make such a service happen. And the government, through measures like the visa programme, which is proving to be a huge success, and through the contact that we are having with the Chinese Civil Aviation Authority and with the Chinese government, are putting in place strong measures and working together to hopefully land such a link in the future.
Thank you, Minister.
We have a really important development taking place this weekend, and we're going to have the first direct access between Ireland and Africa. And I know that all of the figures that have been involved in making that happening are working as hard in making the Ireland-China route also happen.
I'm sorry, Minister, to move on.